Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvada. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Sarvamangala Mangale Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharani Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Gunatito Aksharam Brahma Bhagavan Purushottamaha Jano Janandidam Satyam Uchate Bhava Bandhanat. Om Shri Swaminarayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Narnarayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Aksharaya Namaha. Om Shri Parabrahmane Namaha. Om Shri Ramanarayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Badri Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Shiva Narayanaya Namaha. Om Shri Satyanarayanaya Namaha. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Jai Hanuman Gyana Guna Sagar. Jai Kapisi Loka Ujagar Ramaduta Atulita Baladhama Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanama. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang, Daily Satsang. Today is the 13th of January 2023. I would like to offer from the heart and from the mind my prostrations done with pranam to all the great saints and enlightened beings in the past who are there now in this world and yet to come in the future, and to the Supreme One without a second, Parabrahma Paramatma, residing in the hearts of every living being and residing in every place at all times. With that prarthana and that bhavana, we are continuing our exploration of Vivek Chudamani and Advait Vedanta, which is Vivek Chudamani's heart. We are examining at this point this one word only, that is Maya Karya Rohitam. We're just going into that further in Shlok number 65. We have spent at least 2 months or so on this one verse only. We could probably spend the rest of our life on that. It has everything in there. So we are trying to understand Avastha Traya. Avastha Traya, as a quick review: Jagrat Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Shushupti Avastha. This is our experience. Anubhav. Yesterday we talked about the 2 types of research, external and internal. Right? So we want to now focus a little bit more on the internal, but in connection to some of the ideas that are present in neuropsychology also. We'll try to bridge the gap between the two. In Swapna Avastha, meaning dream, dream state is called Swapna Avastha, meaning the experience of dreaming. Right? There are stages before dreaming. There's stage 1, stage 2, alpha waves, etc. Those are like preparations to move into this Swapna Avastha. The brain cuts off from the body in many ways, and the body is just still. And then the dream world is generated. Amazing. So in neuroscience, this is called REM sleep, rapid eye movement. The brainwave pattern, by the way, is nearly identical, if not identical, to the waking pattern. So when we're awake, we have a certain brainwave pattern in the EEG. When we are dreaming, the pattern is the same. You cannot tell the difference. If the doctor or somebody is to look at the patterns, you'll not know, is this a dream pattern or is this a waking pattern? There is a small story of Raja Janak in the history of India. One time he went to bed. He's a great king, right? But he went to bed at night time and he had this dream, very real dream, realistic dream, that he became a beggar, poor person, wandering in the streets. And it was so real, so real. Then he woke up in the morning and then he said, oh my God, I'm the king actually. So then he went to his guru, touched the guru's feet and said, hey Guru Maharaj, Ashtabakra Rishi, I had this experience at nighttime, this experience of dreaming that I became despondent and poor and not one penny is with me, not one paisa is with me. I'm just roaming around with hardly any clothing, nothing. Was that real or is this real? Which one is real? This Jagrat Avastha, is that real? That you're a king and all that glory and all that thing? Or in the dream, you were a beggar in that dream. You were a homeless person in the dream. Which one is real, O Guruji? Ashtavakra Rishi said, both are unreal. This is the thing to understand in Vedanta. They are real temporarily. They are real relatively. they are not real in terms of the Paramarthika Satya, that is the Brahma Tattva. Brahma Tattva is eternally real. All of the experiences we have while we're awake or while we are dreaming, this REM sleep, the Swapna Avastha, those experiences, if we examine them, just carefully see them, we find that they are temporary. We find that the world ends and a new world begins. When we are in the Swapna world, the dream world, we are not aware of the outside physical world that we are in. This physical world is still there, but our consciousness, our psychological consciousness is not in the physical world anymore. It is in a different frame of consciousness. That is why in Vedanta it is called Swapna Avastha. The word Avastha is so accurate. It is a state of experience for the experiencer, that is the Jiva Tattva, the Atma Tattva. How beautiful, how clear. Even the current neuroscience and psychology and all the things I mentioned yesterday, they have not even come to the Atma. How can they? They cannot come to the Atma because they are externally focused. They are the Atma and they're focusing externally into Maya. How you can find the Atma by focusing externally? You have to see yourself. And the only way to really see yourself is to bring the mind into complete harmony and introspectively, it is called antardrishti, by the different yogas and sadhanas, etc., to bring the mind in such a state that it folds back into the Atma, into the self. And that is realization. That is called Atma Sakshatkar. That is not possible through a telescope or a microscope or any scientific instrument, because scientific instruments only extend our senses. Atma is the seer through the senses. Atma is the feeler through the senses. Atma is the thinker through the thought. Atma is the dreamer through the dream. Atma is the waker while awake. The one who is experiencing the experience of being awake or the REM sleep, right? Now, realization is what we are wanting. Not getting lost and getting trapped in the avasthas. Swapna avastha is a type of super maya. Now, I want to talk more about this today. Swapna avastha has two basic aspects. One is a good, functional, healthy, needed aspect to live in this world and for normal, healthy brain function, body function, etc. That is one aspect. And that aspect has 5 dimensions, that first aspect. I'll talk about that in a moment. Just keep this two in mind. The second aspect of Swapna avastha is the Jivatmas getting lost inside all of the images and all the dream world that is generated by the brain due to vasanas, due to causal body, due to confusion, tension, fear, all kinds of content that is programmed. The brain is trying to figure it out and work it out, and it's trying to experience it. It jumbles it all together. And then it somehow generates a Swapna avastha, generates the dream world. That's the second aspect. Now, let's be clear about the distinction between the two. This is where Viveka also comes into picture. The functional, healthy aspect that we all need, anybody who has a human body, is going to have certain amount of REM sleep, certain amount of sleep, which can be steady sleep. It can be some REM sleep. To some extent is not a problem, but we'll talk more about that in a couple of days. What some of the experiences in REM sleep. The healthy aspects are as follows. Point number 1, conservation of energy. We need to sleep and relax to conserve our energy because we use so much energy during the daytime while we're awake. Point number one. Now, there's a problem in the conservation of energy when there's too much agitation mentally, psychologically. There's imbalance in the physical body. Body is not healthy. The mind-brain connection, body-mind connection, all that. What does that do? That damages the conservation of energy function of the REM sleep, of the dream sleep. This is why, right from childhood, as we mentioned before, proper diet, good environment, listening to mantras, chanting Vedic mantras from childhood, it is so important. Gayatri mantra, Mahamrityunjay mantra, Namah Shivaya mantra. If it is chanted in childhood or heard in childhood, and kids are brought up with that, all of these functions that I'm going to describe to you, they have very good possibility of remaining very healthy. And so first one is conservation of energy. Second one is restoration of tissues and growth. Restoration of tissues. Our physical body is made of all the cells and tissues. They have to be regenerated. The regeneration of the physical body is very much dependent upon the physiology of the brain, of the mind, of the various organs, and it needs calmness and steadiness and rest and not to trouble inside the psychological realm. That will promote good quality restoration of tissues and growth, because all of the tissues change. This is where sleep is of paramount importance. Sleep is a time where restoration of tissues occurs. Sleep is a time where growth of tissues occurs. And there is thermoregulation, regulation of the body's temperatures. That is why we have to have certain temperature at sleep. Then there's a relatively low light or lack of light, so that we can move into that dimension so the body can be healthy. Okay, next function. This is on the function, the healthy side, health side. This is a very big area of study also, but that is regulation of emotions. We all have emotions. Emotions get regulated and placed within a certain healthy boundary. That ability to do that, that capacity to do that in the waking state is dependent on what happens in the dream state with the regulatory mechanism at nighttime. If that mechanism is damaged, it is going to throw off conservation of energy, restoration of tissues and growth. Is going to throw off the experience during the daytime. For example, somebody who has severe depression. A lot of people in this world suffer from chronic depression, dysthymia, a lot of technical language. I won't go into that. What is that? What is depression? It is damage to the regulatory mechanism of emotion. That the good quality emotion with good energy is degraded. The regulation of it it's damaged, so it's not able to stay in that good quality healthy mode. Just as the physical body needs to stay within a range, and it can be healthy within a certain range, like blood pressure and other indicators are there. Similarly, all of our emotions must stay within a range that we would call a healthy range, and that healthy range of emotion, to maintain that range, is called emotional regulation, and that emotional regulation occurs at nighttime. And the rishis knew that thousands of years back, that for that to happen, they need to make sure that during the daytime and during our day-to-day interaction with people and places and all of the activity we're doing, that we move into that state of great wisdom and balance. when Sri Krishna Bhagwan is talking about Sthita Prajna, that is a neuropsychological word actually. We think Bhagwan ki bhakti hai, that's true. It is. Bhagwan ki bhakti hai. Then fine, that's true. But that is also neuropsychological. These words in the Gita are 99% neuropsychological. They are brain-based language actually. So the regulation of emotion is possible when there is jnana. The natural regulation in such a way that the emotions naturally remain balanced all the time without getting into imbalances of any type. That regulatory mechanism is in the brain through the mind, and that occurs naturally when we are absorbed in divine consciousness. Bhajan, bhakti, kirtan, within a certain limit, certain range, that regulates the emotional flow. Now, people who have depression, people who have anxiety, they have tensions, things on their mind, you know what it does, right? It affects the quality of sleep. We know this very well. Sleep deprivation, even depriving sleep for various reasons. Some people are working long hours or they have tensions or whatever. It causes emotional disorders like irritability, anxiety, depression. So many things are there. Humanity suffers more because of these problems at nighttime. Okay, now there's a fourth function. That is neural maturation. The maturing of the networks in the brain. That maturation of networks in the brain from the Bhagavad Gita language is called Buddhi Yoga. Isko hi Buddhi Yoga kehte hai. When the maturation of neurons in the brain increases, the corpus callosum, which is in the middle, connecting both hemispheres, it becomes active. It connects all of the pieces together. And when all of these pieces are connected together beautifully, there is a 360-degree vision of all aspects of life, internal life, external life. That is an inner vision. And that opening of this 360-degree vision is called Jnana. So Jnana is neural maturation that occurs in sleep. This is how much responsibility we all need to have to the quality of our nighttime experience. We just say, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. It's not like that. When we go to sleep, we can be very awake in sleep. That we will get to later on. Those are we have not, I'm still setting the foundation. It's going to take a couple of days to set the foundation. Then we will get to what is in Vedanta and then in Vachanamrut, how the sleep state, the Swapna Avastha dissolves completely. That is discussed in Vachanamrut. But we will get to all that later on. In this series, we will definitely get to it. The next aspect of the functional realm of good quality sleep is memory and learning. So there is information transfer between the cerebral cortex and the hippocampus during sleep. It's memory and learning. Our memories get consolidated. That's necessary. We have so much information during the daytime that has come inside the mind. So at nighttime, the brain takes that information and it pulls it together and it stores it, it consolidates it, and it connects it inside our system. And that is how we learn. These are all needed normal and good functions that occur during Swapna Avastha. Now, when there is problems in these five, conservation of energy, restoration of tissues and growth, regulation of emotions, neural maturation problems, and memory and learning difficulty, when those are disturbed for any reason, that is going to have a chain reaction in all areas of life. Obviously. That's why we have problems like ADHD, OCD, oppositional defiant disorder, intermittent explosive disorder. These are problems that kids have and teenagers have, adults have sometimes also. They become so angry, tremendously angry, because the desires are there. All the regulatory mechanisms are shot. Where do they wind up? In jails. Where do they wind up? In treatment centers with heavy medications to bring all those things into balance. And those medications have more effects. And the whole massive economy is based on all these drugs and psych drugs. And because at the very base, at the very childhood, the parents are transmitting their problems, their chaos into the lives of these children. It is the intergenerational transmission of problems. The Sanatana Dharma has the master key to stop all of this. The Sanatana Dharma is a neurological transformative process. It has nothing to do with sectarianism and just temples and temples versus churches and Hindu versus Muslim. And you have to take all those things and throw them away. That has nothing to do with spirituality at all. Zero. There's no mention of the word Hindu in any scripture of India. This is a fake word that has been created because of the British. And then people are identified, we're Hindu and we're this and we're that. And then all the different divisiveness that is there even within the Indian community. Different language, diversity is good, but the divisiveness is so much. Caste systems and different superstitions and beliefs and all that. And that division, what has it done? It is causing brain damage throughout the world. In every culture, it's not just in India. To rise above that is Brahma Vidya. We have to use language. Sanskrit language is not an Indian language. This is a wrong idea. There's no word like India also in the Sanatana, in the ancient tradition. Where does this word come from? Show me one scripture where this word India is there. It's not there. It's a fake word that has been given by the Western British people for that land. There was no such word like that at all. The rishis never used this language of this type. The rishis are universal. They're beyond universal. They're sitting in dhyan and seeing Ananta Koti Brahmand, infinite universes. Where is the issue of taking our small globe and dividing it up into small territories and countries and all that? It is a small-minded, childish, and very destructive activity as compared to the Brahma rishis. And that division has ramifications for all of humanity, where the Swapna Avastha is carrying the chaos of that division, and it is damaging the brains of 99% of humanity. One culture versus another, one person versus another, it just goes on, the divisions upon divisions upon divisions. And it's causing damage to the brain, more and more damage to the brain. Then you need more and more stimulation. Then you wind up in addictions. Then people start drinking. They want to drown. They're looking for the Atma. There is not a single being that doesn't want to discover the self. But this is the medicine. Sanatana Dharma, we have to use that language. Maybe there's a better word for it. I don't know. But the word Sanatana is very good. It means an eternally existing truth. And the word dharma doesn't mean religious affiliation. It means righteous action, sad acharan, sadachara. And so that type of living, that type of understanding brings about a phenomenal opening from inside. One becomes a liberated being. One cannot identify oneself with one culture, one tradition, one limitation of any kind. How can it be? This is where the human consciousness is very, very much unevolved. In the Swapna Avastha is a direct indication of our spiritual development. Now I'm going to just say one thing here very quickly, and we will talk more about this later. In Vachanamrut, महाराज कहते हैं, श्री जी महाराज, स्वामीनारायण भगवान, उन्होंने बहुत एक अद्भुत बात लिखी है. He says, as you are doing adhyatmik sadhana, bhajan, kirtan, manan, chintan, mantra sadhana, etc., a crack opens and the divinity comes. Bhagwan ka darshan hota hai isme. In the Swapna Avastha, as per your Shraddha Bhakti, that part is real. That is the divinity, that is the divyata beyond the Swapna Avastha, beyond the three avasthas, beyond the three gunas of Maya. That is the Parabrahma Paramatma giving darshan. Swapna mein Paramatma ka darshan hota hai. It's a very interesting subject. We will cover it in detail later on. But I just want to mention it right now. Because Maharaj said in there, that part is real. That is the reality. That is the Brahma Tattva, Parabrahma Tattva, Paramatma Tattva coming to you as per your Shraddha. But the rest of the Swapna Shrishti is all Ajnana. Totally. It is a Swapna Shrishti. Shrishti means it is a world. It is a created world. Who is creating the world? Why is it created? And how much energy is used in creating that? We will go into that in more detail for sure. I will mention it very briefly right now. The Swapna Avastha is created based on the content of the Sukshma Sharira, which is then filtered inside the brain. But the brain and the mind do not have the power to actually create the experience of the dream world. They are just the means, the mechanism that is working. The creator of the dream world is only the Parabrahma Paramatma within the Atma and nobody else. Because Bhagwan is karma phal pradata. The experiencer is the Atma. But the one that is giving the experience to the experiencer, that is Paramatma. Yasya Atma Shariram, Yasya Aksharam Shariram. That is why when we are doing Upasana, Bhajan, Bhakti, Kirtan with Bhagwan, with God, that Upasana, which is a great sadhana, and Guru Seva, Guru Krupa, in that Upasana, there is a breaking the veil, breaking the karmas that are associated with the subtle body. And in doing so, that steadiness, param shanti, param sthirta, all of the rolling around of the madness of the Swapna Avastha, because it is a madness. It is a REM hallucination. And the brain doesn't have a choice but to do that because of all of the massive karmas and ichhas and desires, the clog inside the causal body. So to remove that clog, we sit for dhyan, परमात्मा का ध्यान, परमात्मा की मूर्ति का ध्यान, भगवान का ध्यान, and we sit for dhyan regularly. Different meditations are there, different sadhanas, but their aim is one, that is to destroy the causal body. And once the causal body, the Karana Sharira, begins to get destroyed, the Swapna Avastha is very minimal. It is, in fact, the dream state is so minimal where the functions, where one is sleep, one is restful. Sleep is rest. Sleep is no longer this three-dimensional chaos that is generating this world. Now, consider this. Consider how much energy inside the brain, spinal cord, mind is used to generate the dream world. Have we thought about that? How much energy? It's a phenomenal amount of energy, neuropsychological, internal energy. Kundalini Shakti is used. The chakras we have been talking about, the Vishuddhi chakra and all these different chakras. Tremendous energy is used to generate the dream world. That energy can be conserved. And if once that energy in Swapna Avastha is totally conserved, that will open the door into much higher intelligence, higher functioning of thought and emotion. Emotion becomes divine. Thoughts become opened into much higher contemplation. And there is a great abiding peace and silence and wisdom, because during the waking time, the experience is absolutely splendid. It is like Amrutam. It is Amrut. It is an experience of living in pure Amrut. It is Ananda. It is allowing the Atma to express itself because the cloggage of the Swapna Avastha is gone. Humanity is trapped in Swapna Avastha. Humanity is imprisoned in Swapna Avastha. Yes, do we need to dream? Sure. There is a certain need to dream. No doubt about that. But from a spiritual development perspective, the quantity of dreaming, the quality of dreaming, the content of the dreams, all of this is transformed. And in Vachanamrut, Maharaj said, Ek avastha, biji avastha ma leen theja, meaning what? That dream state, it gets diminished and it's not present anymore. There is a great space in the mind, an openness. And in that openness, there is profound possibility, as J. Krishnamurti has stated, to see into a dimension that has never been seen by the mind before. In his dialogue with Professor Anderson, it's the 18th dialogue, 17th and 18th. And these dialogues are quite intense. Very, very profound, beautiful. And he mentioned this in meditation, that what is meditation is where at nighttime there is a profound silence and there is an opportunity to see into a dimension. That is what Vedanta is going to call that Turiya. We can call that Samadhi also. You can call that, in Vachanamrut, there's so many ways this is described. Patanjali has described it in many ways. Gyan Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi and so many, Asampragnat Samadhi, lot of languages. We won't go into all that right now. The point is, it is possible to see into a dimension outside the waking and dream state. Hence, in that dimension, the chakras are revealed. In that dimension, the Kundalini is revealed. In that dimension, the 72,000 nadis are revealed. In that dimension, galaxies are revealed. In that dimension, all kinds of Paravidya is revealed. The 10 Mahavidyas are revealed. In that dimension, all forms of the Devi, goddess, are revealed. To open that dimension beyond the Swapna Avastha, Jagrata Avastha, this is where all of the stotras, mantras, shastras that are in the Sanatana Dharma, that is their purpose. Lalita Sahasranam, Vishnu Sahasranam, Shiv Sahasranam, Shri Sukta, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishadic mantras, Vedic mantras, you name it. Each and every one of them, and all the great scriptures, Shikshapatri, Vachanamrutam, Satsangi Jivan, Yog Vashishta, Vivek Chudamani, all of them. What is their real aim? To break the block of the Swapna Avastha. And once that breaks open, anirvachaniya. शास्त्र में लिखा है उसका हम डिस्क्राइब नहीं कर सकते, अनिर्वचनीय. That is the opening into the Atma. But before you even open the Atma, all of these nadis and chakras and everything is present there. Different 14 lokas, alaukik sab baat hai. And it is from that transcendental state that Shankaracharya ji is writing Vivek Chudamani, that Sajanand Swami Maharaj is speaking Vachanamrut, that Bhagavad Gita is written by Vedvyas ji, from that state. Not from the confusions of the waking and dream world. No, not from that. The confusions of the waking and dream world are the expression of the attachment towards Mahamaya, towards ignorance. And those confusions go on, those attachments go on, they linger again and again. It's a massive blockage. It just goes on and on, on and on, on and on. That is the beauty. See, when Bhagwan Shankar is carrying that Trishul, the 3 spokes, it means Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, and to break that. He throwing that Trishul means what? He's breaking us out of those 3 states. That is the transition into Shiva. That is a transition into the Atma. That is a transition into that glorious and beautiful, fantastic living within this world with open eyes, not with eyes that are filled with raga and dvesha, attraction and repulsion, and one is getting like a puppet, like the strings are being pulled by the 3 gunas of Maya. No. Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya Mam Evaya Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. Such a life is divine life. Such a life is an enlightened life. Such a life is a life of absolute freedom. Such a life is a life of fearlessness. Such a life is a life of sensitivity, generosity, care, affection, sensitivity. And it is a life without any kind of energetic damage. Not for oneself and not for anybody else. These are the basic truths of Sanatana Dharma that are neuropsychological. Neuropsychological is only 10%. The rest of it is beyond that. So we will stop here for today and we will continue tomorrow. We have lots more to talk about this. It's a most interesting subject. All right. And most interesting truth to evolve.